we're only a couple weeks away from training camp, thank God. I mean, it's been a long off season with a lot going on. But it's time to kind of look at this roster and see, where we're at, positions of strength, weakness, any guys that could surprise, not surprise. I mean, what do you think, man? It seems like we're almost there.
Yeah, and this is, man, I actually love this part of the season because it's like, we're almost there. We're getting in. They're starting to fill out the roster a little bit. And now it's time to see who goes out there and succeeds, who fails. There's going to be a lot of surprise cuts coming up. There's going to be a lot of guys we're going to see possibly get outperformed. There may be guys that are really good but are just on the bubble and might not make the roster. You look at our linebacker position, that can happen there. There's just so many positions. There's so many battles to be had on this team. So you look at the secondary, there's battles all over the secondary as well. Just so much excitement to be had just to, the opportunity for growth on this team is so great.
Yeah, and listen, I'm excited about the potential because there's so many young players that you want to see these guys emerge. I have zero expectations for this season. They win 5 games, They win 6 games. That's fine. I don't think playoffs. I'm not thinking championship. I'm thinking I want to see this team be molded in the right direction with enthusiasm, discipline, physicality, effort. This is about a culture season, about establishing a whole new program. And the excitement is about seeing the young guys emerge, right? Maybe even a veteran guy take his game to the next level. But that's really about it. But I think, as we said in the past, if you want to make a shirt for this year, like all these guys making these stupid-ass shirts out there, make your shirt if this happens, if that happens. Seriously, I mean, some of these shirts now are just ridiculous, dude. And you put a number on it. Oh, look at my new shirt I made. You credit to this guy for the design. It looks terrible. Some of it's just terrible. But if this guy emerges, it's like you want to see so many things happen to have a positive, productive season. But Joe, you could also say, listen, if one or two guys go down, just say, for example, we'll go wide receiver right now. If Quincy Enunwa, God forbid, goes down early in this season or early in training camp, dude, that wide receiver position, the same position that cut Eric Decker for, tank reasons, dude, that position becomes a huge concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we talked with, Eric Decker being gone. Quincy Enunwa goes down, it's going to be absolutely nuts to watch that position just become just a scramble. I'm hoping guys like Robbie Anderson step up this year. That's going to be a guy that we're looking to see what he can do. Was last year a mirage? Is he as good as most of us think he is? We're going to have to see. But Quincy's going to be a big part. Another position that, we talked about as well that, is kind of thin when you look. Go ahead.
But dude, hold on 1 second. And this is the guy I wanted you to touch on, Robbie Anderson. Mm-hmm. Brandon Marshall offered a very interesting comment about Robbie Anderson. And we know Brandon likes to stir the pot, and he does a lot of different things. But he kind of hinted that Robbie's got to get his act together. He kind of hinted listen, your first year of success does not make you a star in the NFL, doesn't make you a keeper, doesn't guarantee you a roster spot. If you have a terrible training camp, you can be cut. You're not a 10-year veteran here. So Robbie Anderson, in my opinion, is not a lock. He's not. I don't walk in the season saying, he's my number 2. I think I know what he is. Dude, there were games last year where you're like, man, he is inconsistent. He catches that deep ball, and Bryce Petty missed him, and they missed him deep, things like that. But there are also those intermediate routes. He struggled sometimes. He dropped some passes. He's got to raise his game, man. He can't become complacent here.
Yeah, he definitely. No, I don't think any of them really. I mean, maybe outside of Quincy, I don't think anyone else in this roster has, kind of the ability to be complacent and still make the roster here. I think everybody pretty much is fighting. But I look at Robbie and I say to myself, okay, for a guy that was his first year, when you really look at that tape and you say, well, they might have missed him on some deep ball, they missed him on a lot of deep balls, especially when Fitz was absolutely ruining this offense. There was a lot of times where Robbie was running wide open where he was beating solid corners. I mean, running great routes, beating solid corners, and getting open and still wasn't getting the football. And he was in wide open space. There was also times where Robbie would have to break off his route from being open to come back to catch a football that was thrown by Fitz or underthrown by Fitz. So, I don't think he's going to be a complacent guy. I understand Brandon Marshall said that, but Brandon Marshall has said a lot of things since he's left as well. I'm really ready to close that door on him. I think this dude is really going to work because if you look at what he did when he first got here, he worked. He outworked Jalen Marshall, which was a guy that we all talked about, that we were excited for. He was explosive. And Robbie came straight into that wide receiver competition and said, no, I'm here. I'm going to make my bones and make my spot. And look what he did.
There's one major difference, though. There's one major difference. The major difference is you're going from an undrafted free agent trying to make the roster to a guy that's now considered on the roster with almost guaranteed playing time. The mindset could actually change there. But the other thing that changes too is that now you're a focus of the defense too. Like now, last year you caught everybody by surprise. You had Brandon Marshall, taking coverage away. You have Quincy taking coverage away. Now, if you have Quincy possibly getting doubled, they can roll coverage to Robbie. Can he overcome that? A lot of things changed for him this year, man.
Yeah, but first off, the work ethic stuff, you just said it yourself. He's an undrafted guy. That means he had to fight to get where he was. It's not like a guy just walked on the field and said, okay, well, I'm going to – no, he's scrapping. He was out there scrapping. So to me, there's no question that he has that will, he has that want, and he has that fight to where he's going to work to stay in that position. He's going to work to catch those football. He's going to work to run those routes and beat guys. I don't think that Robbie is going to lay down at all and just say, hey, I've done it. It's my first year. I've done what I needed to do, and I don't need to compete anymore. I think he has that fight and that competitive spirit in him, because if he didn't, he wouldn't have made it here as an undrafted free agent. Secondly, I totally agree with you there. Yeah, they're going to roll coverages to his side. He is going to be a focal point. He's going to be a guy that teams are going to look at and say, okay, once we double Quincy, or if we take Quincy out the game, this is the guy that they're going to target. And that's what I'm saying is this year I'm looking to see if he is going to be the guy that's going to step up. Can he be our solid number two? And if he can't be a number two, where are they going to move around this offense? Can he be a productive number three? Is he going to come out the slot? What kind of packages are – and a lot of this is going to play into John Morton's offensive plan as well, but what kind of packages are they going to put together for Robbie to make him effective within this offense? What can he do within Morton's offense to be productive here? Those are the things that I want to see. But I do have a lot of faith in Robbie, and he's one of the guys that I'm backing this year.
Listen, I back all of them, but to me, he's still in improvement mode. Like, I don't consider – like you said, Quincy Nunwa is my lock. Other than that, everybody's an unknown, including the rookies. And the great thing about this time of year, is everybody's writing these articles because they're desperate for clickbait, and they got to write something because they're obligated to write it. So now there's so many assumptions. Oh, our Darius Stewart's going to be the number 3, and Chad Hansen's going to replace Eric Decker and all this. Listen, these guys, everybody is an unknown. We don't know anything. First of all, they have to get healthy, which has been an issue already for both of them. The second thing is, dude, you're talking about you got to learn the NFL, you got to learn the offense, you got to learn so many things, dude. There is a lot going on with this wide receiver position.
Yeah, absolutely, there is, and that's why I don't, especially we haven't even just talked about the injury to our Darius Stewart as well. That's something that can happen, that groin injury going into the season. We'll see how he recovers from that. But like you just said, I'm not expecting too much from those, Hansen and Stewart. I'm not expecting them to put up big numbers. I'm not going to say that they're going to come in and absolutely blow it away, because like you just said, there's a lot they have to learn. There's a learning curve when they come here as well, having to deal with corners, veteran corners that are going to set them up certain type of ways, defensive coordinators that may, target them as well. So there's a lot of things that are going to have to be going through their heads, a lot of things they have to learn as well. So I'm not expecting like gigantic seasons from them either.
Yeah, like what's a realistic expectation for Hansen and Stewart? What's a realistic expectation for Robbie Anderson? I think you could say for Stewart and Hansen, maybe 20 catches? I mean, what's your expectation for them? Maybe that.
Yeah, maybe about, and that's where I was, maybe 20, 25 catches, I think is a realistic expectation. I know that Stewart has also been talked about as being, having special team ability. That's another facet to his game as well. So if he gets back there as a returner, maybe he provides more production from that spot as well. But I'm not expecting anything more than that, maybe 20, 25 catches.
And what would you consider a realistic expectation for Robbie Anderson? 50 catches, 60 catches?
Oh, I'm going to say Robbie, because he's such a burner, and I really do believe he's got a lot of great deep ball ability. I don't know, because if McCown ends up being a starter, his deep arm is I just don't like it. But I think 40 catches for me is a realistic possibility for him. 40 catches.
Yeah, I mean, and that's interesting. And then you're looking at Quincy being the go-to guy. You're thinking, in the 60s, maybe 70 catches?
Yeah, 60, probably 70 catches for him, easy.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Like, it's interesting, man. Like, the wide receiver position, we talked about it our last show, which I said seems like it's been a month ago. To me, it's a concern. Like, there's a lot of unknowns there where you can't assume anything. Both rookie receivers were hurt. Quincy is a whole new role for him, man. Like, we love what he brings to the table, but listen, you're the guy now. You're the safety blanket. You're the go-to guy. On third down, we're going to you. The big play goes to you. You got to produce. If you don't, behind you is a lot of unknowns. So, we'll go from there. And then, a position that we've talked about pretty much the entire offseason, the offensive line. And to me, the offensive line, 3/5 of it, we don't know what it is. You have two good guards, and that's all we know, in my opinion. And this isn't being negative, this is being realistic. So, I'm not here to, give you unicorns and rainbows. Wesley Johnson, got to do for 16 games. The left tackle, who is it? Is it Kelvin Beachum, who's coming off a very bad year? He was good at one point. Can he return to that? Brandon Shell, hopefully he could play it. Is it Ben Ajalana? Dude, the 3/5 of your offensive line, Joe, you have to hope and pray plays at a high level.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going to go earlier, was coming to this offensive line and talking about, if injuries were really to assault any position group, that would crush us, it would definitely be our offensive line. When you look at the situation, you spoke on Kelvin Beachum. He's coming off a bad year, not just a bad year, but also a bad knee too, which has hampered him in camp as well. It was swollen. He had issues, standing on it, different type of things. Hopefully he stays healthy, relatively most of the season or all of the season. You look at Wesley Johnson, like you said, you're hoping that this guy can fill Nick Mangold's shoes. You're hoping that this guy can be a solid center in this league. We'll see what he can do for an entire season. But my thing is Shell has got to show up and got to show out. I want to see this guy, he had a solid couple games, those only a handful of games last year. I want to see if he can be that right tackle throughout the rest of the season. Because if he's not, that blows a gigantic hole, another gigantic hole in our offensive line. And this will be from the time that Mac has gotten here until now, he's never had a true answer for that right tackle position at all. And not only that, but it will hamper any type of progression or any type of growth that hopefully one of our young quarterbacks will have. Because if you got a right tackle that's failing, let me tell you something. Guys are going to be in that quarterback's face all night long. That jacks up the evaluation process for everybody. Our young quarterbacks will never be able to throw a football. They'll be on their butts. We're still wondering about what our wide receivers is, who guy can't get them the ball because he's always on his butt. There's a lot riding on these guys, Wesley Johnson, especially, Shell, for them to stand up, and show out.
Yeah, and that's the best way to ruin an offense is a bad offensive line. And you got to figure you have a new offense, you have a new quarterback, you have so many things, so many moving parts you're trying to develop. You can't have a faulty offensive line. You can't have communication errors. You can't have blown assignments. You can't have all these things. And like you said, McCagnon once again took some risk. He took a risk with Beachum. He took, he's taking Brendan Shell. You got to kind of hope. And then you go, okay, hopefully this all pans out. You look at tight end, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, phenomenal offseason. Lost weight, looks comfortable, looks like he's really embracing his role with the Jets as a leader. He's doing all the right things. They drafted a tight end. This could be the first year, Joe, in about $1 million, the Jets get productivity at a tight end position.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually a position group on offense that I'm the most excited about, one of the most I'm excited about, because, and I've talked about this guy before, even before the offseason, that ASJ was my guy. I think that he has the ability to be one of the best tight ends in the league. My question for him was, is he going to be in shape, and is he going to be focused? And if you look at this offseason, from everything that we've seen now, that he's both of those things. He's in shape, and he's ready, and he's focused. And he's absolutely committed to going to that football field and showing up and showing out. Jordan Leggett is a guy that I love. I actually really love that draft pick as well, a guy that has big ability, especially after the catch with him. I really think that we could do some of the same things that the Patriots did with Gronk and Hernandez. I'm not saying we're going to be as great. Of course, that was a great offense. But I'm saying that we have the makeup where we can do some of those things, where we can put Here we go. I knew you were going to do that because you're just stupid.
Welcome back, man.
What I'm saying is this, is that when you can put two tight ends out there at the same time, that is going to be matchup nightmares for some of these, linebackers they're going to match up with. Man, it's crazy. The ability that both of them have, and to be, even with one of them on the field, they're going to have to be one of these young quarterbacks, relief valves, especially ASJ more than likely after the suspension is going to come back. He's going to be an undoubted starter. So you're looking at these situations where you have guys, big targets, especially when you get to that red zone. They can catch the football, and they have so much athletic ability behind them. It's crazy. I think we really have an ability to lean on those two tight ends and absolutely produce with them offensively.
No, I agree, man. I think it's a position of positivity where you're encouraged about what could happen. And then last but not least on offense, and we have a couple callers who want to talk about this, it's the quarterback position. And here's my question, Joe. I'll just put it out there because, like I said, this is a time of year where every website's desperate for clickbait, and they want to just – I think they've used every possible list article known to man at this point. Do the New York Jets have the worst group of quarterbacks in the NFL?
I guess you could say that because most of them are – I mean, Josh McCown is nothing to write home about. And to me, Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg are unproven. So I could see where people would say that we have the worst group of quarterbacks, but there's ability there. I'm not huge on Christian Hackenberg. We'll see what he brings out. We've all talked about him in depth, accuracy issues. He's working on those things. A lot of, reports that are coming out saying, hey, they're working on his footwork. They're kind of retooling that. But outside of that, he's got the measurables. I mean, the kid has an arm. He's got the build. He's got it. Bryce Petty's another guy, on the other hand, that I like him very much. He's got the arm. His accuracy is up and down. We're wondering, hey, has he come of age now? Is he a guy that can go out there, consistently read defenses, get the offenses in the right set, and make the play? Can he do that? Can he do that for a full season? So we're looking to see that, and hopefully one of these two young quarterbacks beat Josh McCown out. If not, then it's his job, and we'll see what happens going forward.